What I've got here is a standard Illustrator document, and I've created several artboards. And on the artboards, I've created, as per my previous work, various grids: rectangular, irregular, polar, irregular, polar, and so on. You can see hexagonal, isometric. And the point is, what do we do with the grids? Well, you can use the grids for layout and creating shapes, etc. And you can get some really interesting shapes when you combine them. And the last three artboards is where I've combined them. I've got, going from left to right, a rectangular and a polar, and then we've got the isometric and polar, and the hexagonal and polar. You can combine as many as you like. And the point is this: if you look at my artboards on the right, you can see I've got them all nicely organized and named, very important. And I've got everything on a different layer, and they're locked except for one layer, which is where I'm going to do my work. Well, this is where I created the combined structure. This is the first one. This is the second one. In fact, I'll name this something a bit better. Then I'll do a new layer on top, lock the other one, and I'll call this, say, new shapes. Fairly straightforward. Do a quick save. Don't forget to save. And let's go to the one on the left. So I'm creating my new shapes on a new layer. Everything is locked, so I can't select anything. And so what do I do? Well, I can either create shapes or paths or both. And initially I'm going to start with shapes. So the shape builder tool is very useful here. Click on that. And now I can't do anything because it's locked. So what I'm going to do first is, because I want the originals. See, that's not that one. That's that one. So let's unlock it, select it, copy it, lock it, go to the new layer. I'll hide the one it came from, and Command-Shift-V or Control-Shift-V, that's paste in place, quite useful. So I've duplicated them, always useful. So they're going to be created on this new shapes layer. Everything else is locked, and the original I came from is hidden. And I'll now click on Shape Builder. And the Shape Builder is very useful. It builds shapes from where things intersect and overlap. And when I'm looking at this and rolling over, you can see it highlights the intersected areas. And it's up to me to decide what sort of shapes I want. So I can just pick, and if I click and drag, it highlights. Oh, gone too much. I can always undo. There we go. You can see it's merging areas. And this is the sort of thing I want. I'm creating a sort of structure. And the point is to quickly and easily create shapes. Let's see, what do I want? In fact, let's add these two and so on, which makes life quite easy for me to create a design. And that works quite well. And I can delete whatever I want, and I can be left with, if I click off, there you go. You see, we've got a different structure. I can select things. Well, if I click on this and I'll go to Object and ungroup everything, click off, you can see I've got different shapes, paths, and all this sort of stuff. So the shape right here you see is a separate shape. And the point is, once I've got these, I can then duplicate them, rotate them, and create all sorts of things. And obviously color them as well. So let's undo that. Let's go back. It should be fine. There we go. So instead of the shape builder, I will use the live paint bucket. Now, the live paint bucket works in exactly the same way, except, and let me bring up my swatches, it colors at the same time. So here's my swatches, and I've got various swatches set up, including some groups. So if you look here, you see I've got a couple of groups. And It's going to do the same thing, but when I roll over, if you notice above my cursor, I have 3 little swatches. And if I use the right arrow key on my keyboard, if you can see, it goes through the swatch group or section. The down arrow will go to the group, you see, folder to folder. And then I can do right arrow to move around. And left arrow, etc., etc. So I could create a group. Let's see, let's go to nature, beach. Here we go. I'm quite partial to blues. Here's a blue group. Here we go. I'll have that. Thank you very much. And I'll roll over. You see, I can now, let's click on one. I don't need them all. I can now left and right arrow to choose my color. So let's start with something like that. See, thank you very much. And let's do the same there. And I can do the same. Of course, I might need to zoom in a bit to make things a bit easier to see. There we go. Let's have a look at the center. What have we got here? And it's just me picking ideas, shapes out from whatever I've created from my, this is a bit small. There you go. From my grid, or grids in this particular, oh, too much. Now, it's not combining shapes like we did before. It's just coloring them, as you can see here. But there we go. Let's choose a different color. And let's choose another choice like that, something like that. I'm just looking at the opposites. And you can have a lot of choices and examples here. There you go. And of course, you can unite things afterwards, etc., etc. There we go. Let's choose something lighter. And it's a lot of fun because you can do all sorts of shapes at the end of the day. And of course, don't forget, once you've got a set, you can always then rotate them, delete them, copy them, move them around, cut and paste, etc., etc. And it works very, very well. I'll do a quick save there. And so if I go to the next one, I can do a similar thing. Let's have a look. Let's choose color set a group like this. Start from here. And again, the shape builder. And again, I'm having a look. Let's see. Oh, right, because now this is locked off. So this is the work artboard, which will be, let's have a look. This one, combining. So I will unlock that, switch to the black arrow tool, select, copy, lock and hide, go to new shapes 2, Command Shift V. There we go. I always like to make sure I've got duplicates of everything so I know, just in case. Oh, I don't want that. There we go. Let's click on the first one. So again, I'm just picking and choosing whatever I like to produce whatever sort of style or shape structure I want. They don't have to be exactly the same. I'm just having a bit of fun. Let's see where I am. Yeah, let's do something like that. And this is the whole point of the shape builder and the live paint. Also notice as well, oh, I missed these two here. Also notice as well, I can change the stroke. When I roll over a stroke, it will allow me to color the stroke. Now, yours may not do this exactly, but when I double click on the live paint bucket option, so double click, make sure paint strokes are ticked. And so if I choose, let's have a look, a color like this, then I can change the color. Oh, there you go. It gets a bit tricky sometimes to see what you've got, but it works quite well. Although for some reason it doesn't seem to be changing. Oh, there we go. Let's choose a different. There you go. There you go. It just hadn't changed the color. So the point is to quickly get a set of strokes, paths, fills that we can copy and paste and play around. And again, I can click on this object, ungroup all, and I can select. Okay, it looks like I need to expand this as well. Is there an expand? Do I need to? Yeah, let's go to expand. Expand everything. And then ungroup. Click off. Click on. There you go. And so I can copy the bits that I want. Let's make sure I get everything. Just holding the shift key. I may get more than I need, but I'm not going to worry. So copy, paste it, move it over. And I don't need these. So I now have, oh, no, I've got something I don't want. I now have a copy of shapes for me to play around with. And in fact, I missed a bit there, but okay, so that's fine. I'll delete that. And so, for example, in fact, yes, I've missed a bit. Didn't zoom in. But what I can now do is I can rotate it, duplicate it. Play around with it. Let's start off. Ooh. Let's go back. Double click on the rotate tool. There you go. Let's say copy. There you go. And I can duplicate that and produce all sorts of shapes. This looks a mess because I didn't select it properly, but you get the idea. It works out very, very nicely indeed. Let's have a look. Let's see what I need. No, that's all one. So let's expand everything. Ungroup. No, ungroup all. There you go. So let's produce something a little bit. In fact, actually, I can probably just do it this way. Delete the bits I don't want. It's entirely up to you which ones you're happy with and which ones you want to get rid of. You can keep the grid as well. You may want the grid as a visual component in your final design. It's entirely up to you. So for example, I'm going to keep it here. Well, not this one, I don't want that one, but here. So you can see we've got like a T, like a stem here, because I decided I like that. And let's select this, copy this. Let's go to my work copy here, Command Shift V, Control Shift V, and I can now rotate this, play around with this, depending on what I want to do. But let's double click on the rotate tool. And let's say 22.5, copy, and then duplicate again to produce voila, a pattern, whatever it may be. Let's get out of that. And it's entirely up to me. I can then resize this, recolor this. In fact, let's do that and keep on going around. 22.5 fits into 360 exactly. There we go. And you can see what sort of shapes and structures I create, which I can then further combine and play around with. And that's the point of doing our grid or grids. Combine them, pick out areas, patterns, to create repeating patterns, to create all sorts of structures. You can delete whatever bits you don't want. Maybe I'm not so happy with the outside, but I do like the inside. Here we go. And I can group that and I can play around with this and duplicate it and play around with different sizes to produce a nice structure. Works out quite well. It's not perfect, or I say it's not perfect, it's not perfectly symmetrical. You can see I've got sort of different sort of lines not going all the way around, but that can also be an issue, not an issue, but a point of contrast of difference, which can work quite well. But this is how it all works. As long as you organize your colors, your layers, your artboards, your swatches correctly, you can very quickly create all sorts of patterns and ideas.